And love is 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 love cannot be killed or swept aside.
Welcome back to another issue. I'm Beastie Boy.
I'm Table.
I'm Red.
And it is I, Shino Brando.
And in this issue, as a second part of our Pride celebration, we dive into the power of love by exploring our favorite queer relationships in media.
So to start off with, we're going to do a little bit of terminology again. Today we're going to learn about the difference between queer baiting, queer coding, queer subtext, and queer text. So queer baiting is when characters are given a deliberate and explicit sexual tension in the text for the express purpose of getting people who are interested in seeing that relationship fulfilled to continue consuming the media, despite the fact that the writers have no intention of ever carrying it out. One of the biggest accusations of queerbaiting generally goes to Sherlock and Supernatural. Supernatural's stance on that is weird now that, Castiel's a canon gay. Go check out our whole episode on that mess if you want details. But Sherlock continues to be the worst. If you are any way familiar with that incredibly massive fandom back from, 2012, there was a whole lot of John Locke fic and other content out there. And that was deliberate, not just from the fans' perspective, but from the creators' perspective. They wanted people to see this relationship as potentially romantic, and then they gave John Watson a wife. They had Sherlock have a really weird relationship with Irene Adler, of course. What it is it's misleading and it's really fucking obnoxious. The difference between that and queer coding is actually really important, though queer coding can help contribute to queer baiting. In the Sherlock example, the primary antagonist of at least the first couple seasons, Moriarty, was really aggressively queer coded, which is often done to villains because, villainizing queer traits, yay. But it also contributed to further, will they, won't they rivalry tension between Moriarty and Sherlock to further queerbait the audience. But sometimes queer coding happens because the creators aren't able to put the explicit stuff they want into the text. Like Gravity Falls. The two cops, if you're familiar with them, are deliberately queer-coded to suggest they're in a relationship, but they aren't because they actually couldn't put that in the show.
Because they were on Disney.
For the majority of Adventure Time's existence, Princess Bubblegum and Marcelina were queer-coded, implied to be in a relationship as close as they could possibly get, but they weren't allowed to make it explicit either. Of course, they did later get to become textually in love, which is fantastic, but they spent the majority of their relationship not. Now, the difference between queer coding and queer subtext is that queer coding is, generally speaking, deliberate. It's a deliberate choice to imply things about these characters and their relationships. Queer subtext is more like a queer reading of the text. You look at their motivation, you look at their interactions, or what they say and what they do, and you go, hey, actually, I think. So queer subtext is closest to headcanon territory, but it's all still in the text, so to speak, versus queer text, which is explicit. They either state something about their identity to say, yeah, actually, this is what I am, this is how I feel about people and or myself, or they are textually shown to be in a queer relationship of some kind. Worth mentioning, a queer relationship doesn't actually have to be a same-sex relationship. If a bisexual character is in a relationship with a person of a different gender, that's still queer because guess what? You don't stop being bisexual because you're dating someone specific. Or if a character is non-binary or otherwise genderqueer, but they primarily present masculine or feminine, and they date someone of the apparent other gender, that doesn't change their identity, and it doesn't change the fact that that is in some ways a queer relationship. But for all of our purposes here today, especially because we will be focusing on comics, since that is kind of our wheelhouse, we are primarily focusing on same-sex couples because they are the most unlikely to be misinterpreted on the page and off the page, which, comics fans will interpret everything to Kingdom fucking Come, so gotta be careful on that one.
So with some schooling out of the way, I bet you would think if you were a part of the Maximov family, your family dinners get a little hectic, right?
You can manage to get all of those people around a table, I'd be scared.
Now imagine if you were to come to dinner and the person you brought with you to dinner was actually a half Kree, half Skrull posing as a human. That's the story of Wiccan and Hulkling. Wiccan being the son of the Scarlet Witch and Vision from another reality, and then wished into the reality proper, with electromagnetic powers, and Hulkling, half Skrull, half Kree, posing as a human. So shortly after joining the Young Avengers, the son of the Scarlet Witch and Hulkling started dating. Super cute. After an altercation with Kang the Conqueror, we really just don't have time to go into who that is.
He's a prick. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, he's an interdimensional prick. Let's go there. That fucks with time. In a story called The Children's Crusade, the Young Avengers actually disbanded. And this is where William Kaplan and Theodore Altman took a retirement to themselves and decided to go be steady, be in a relationship together. This retirement was swiftly ended as Wiccan, in an attempt to settle an argument, brought forth an interdimensional being known as Mother, who began masquerading as Hulkling's dead mom.
Wow, that's so fucked up. Okay.
Right?
That's a big yikes.
This brings us inevitably to the event known as Empire, where the Kree-Skrull War was back put on Marvel's center stage. And in the aftermath of this, the two boys got married on a universal stage where Hulkling was made prince and Wiccan his official prince consort and court wizard. Hold my magic staff or something, I don't know. But these two characters hold a special place to me because not only is Wiccan's family lineage just a mess and involves literal dimensional travel, but finding your someone from amongst the stars is really like an interesting story.
Sweet is what it is.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of relationships in comics have so many goddamn ups and downs. It's nice to see something as stable as these two managed to be.
Right. In Wiccan's official coming out, he was more trying to come out to his parents as a superhero and ended up saying that, oh yeah, I'm gay and in a relationship with Hulkling.
It's the interesting thing, right, about superhero, secret identity stuff. It can be used as an allegory for other things, and they actually threw the allegory right out the fucking window with this one.
It's true, but now they're gay married space husbands, and I appreciate them a lot.
Yeah, Hulkling's like straight up emperor of an entire goddamn galactic empire. It's a lot. What was the latest book you were able to find them in?
That was King in Black, Wiccan, and Hulkling. A very comic that we did on our show, the Itty Bitty Nerdy Committee, which you can find at twitch.tv/nerdcrusade.
Thursdays, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. But yeah, because in that one they went on their honeymoon, right?
Yes. They dealt with King in Black nonsense with fighting a symbiote dragon and got caught blocked at every stage of the game by another royal consort.
I think she was a security guard.
Close enough. But yeah, that's Wiccan and Hulkling.
We love to see them. They're cute. Hey, Beastie, who have you got?
I have brought in Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, the very
A
famous
classic, but go on.
Yes, the very famous DC couple that everybody has known. And if you don't know, then, I'm about to school you into it. Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy's relationship is apparently an openly bisexual and non-monogamous relationship, but this relationship is a lot better than Harley's previous relationship with Mr. J, or the Joker himself, because that fucker is a whole dick to Harley Quinn.
Abusive as hell.
Yeah, exactly. But ironically, they met beforehand, not in the comics, but in the Batman the Animated Series in 1993, which was the episode Harley and Ivy. So they had initially met from that kind of situation. Kind of gallivanting around and doing, girls of the city would do, just, going around town, being bad girls and all that stuff. That's how they initially met. But yeah, before they had gotten to this relationship, Poison Ivy had kind of been encouraging Harley to be like, hey, Joker ain't the one for you. Joker's kind of like a whole dick. You should maybe leave him. And the whole time Harley was like not ignoring it, but she wasn't really adhering to the advice that Ivy was giving in the beginning of the whole situation. But, with the persistence of Ivy mentioning it and all that stuff, she did at some point later on get rid of Joker and the relationship that she had with him. They did later on in the comic books, finally met up and again started working together in Harley Quinn #1, where that's where they kind of like were seen together more or less, little as in a relationship, but as like with their companionship and with their whole crime fighting situations.
For sure, it develops slowly, their relationship, but also really naturally. I mean, coming out of her relationship with the Joker, Harley needs support and a good friend, and Ivy is there for her the whole time.
Ivy was like the pinnacle point of like both of what you just said. Like she was being that good friend and supportive person. So, and that, again, Harley did need that in that situation because of the trauma that she had been dealt.
Multiple times.
Exactly, right?
Yeah,
So like
emotional trauma in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, for sure.
but in later, like from the 2013 Harley Quinn comic series that I had mentioned, which is written by Amanda Connor and Jimmy, might butcher this, but Jimmy Palmiotti, thank you. They were finally shown in a romantic relationship with Harley referring to Ivy as, quotes, hot girlfriend. And that's when everybody was like, fuck yes, this is great. We love to see it. This is the power couple.
Things are official. This is good.
And honestly, I saw that and I was just like, you know what? Nice. I'm proud of that. This is what we wanted to see. But as well too, let alone in the comics, they had even in the Injustice game, Injustice 2, or I believe in comics, I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the Injustice 2 timeline, they had actually gotten married as well. So yeah,
that they did.
More inclusion. Yeah.
And also at the end of the Harley Quinn show, they officially get married.
It was in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Sounds natural. Sounds exactly like them.
That's exactly them. Hey, let's go have a wedding in Vegas. Let's go. Yeah, and I believe their honeymoon is actually really fantastic because you've got Catwoman, and I believe Zatanna shows up.
Okay.
And they all do a big bachelorette party for both of them.
Right on. That's pretty sick, man.
We love to see it. And they've been kind of a staple for a while. And I'm really, really glad that you brought them here today. Because really, what would a queer relationships in media discussion be without mentioning Harley and Ivy?
Incomplete is what it would be.
Exactly.
They're like the new standard now.
But that is who I brought, this wholesome girl squad here.
All right, so I'm guessing it's my turn now, right?
Sure is.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, I'm going to talk about, in my head canon, right, the way I want things to be, it's supposed to be Maggie Sawyer and Renee Montoya, because that's what seems natural to me. But DC doesn't see it that way, and that's fine. That's cool. So I'm here to talk about Kate Kane and Maggie Sawyer, with a little bit of Renee Montoya in between. I'll let you know about that a little bit later, though.
Okay.
So let me introduce you all to Maggie Sawyer. She's a badass cop, formerly out of Metropolis, from the Special Crimes Unit, the SCU. She's also served in Star City and National City Police Departments. She was created by John Byrne during his renowned run on Superman Volume 2. She first appeared in 1987 in issue number 4. She is a police captain and such, leads the SCU. She would replace Inspector Henderson as Superman's contact with the police. She would also turn her nose to vigilantism. She don't like that shit. And when she often worked with Superman, if she had to, she would often turn her nose away from him. She just didn't like costumes. She didn't like superheroics. She figured a badge and a gun is the job, and that's what you should do. But during a terrorist plot, she was under siege, and Superman, saved her life, and she helped him out. And so she, they started making a camaraderie, and they became close friends and close contacts. So she learned to trust him a little bit. She was married to a fellow officer, although uncertain about her own sexual identity. She was kind of almost forced into the marriage. James and Maggie would have a daughter during their marriage, but Maggie would later come out as lesbian to James. They would divorce. And in a dick move, James would add a no contact clause with a sole custody of their child thing during their divorce. He's an asshole. Yeah. It would take time for Maggie to make contact with her family, but eventually she would reunite with them. She would resume relationship with her daughter, Jamie. She would also gain the respect of her peers, being promoted to inspector within a new division in the Metropolis Police Department.
Inspector Maggie.
Maggie would also survive Lex Luthor trying to cover up some bullshit by outing her sexuality. In a moment of power, Maggie had a chance to swipe all evidence of her from his desk, and she decided to leave it behind, citing to Dan Turpin, her colleague, longtime co-worker, that she's not ashamed of herself and that she was not going to let anybody ever use that against her ever again. So
go
ahead if you want to. She got balls, bro. Much later in her career, she would move to Gotham, where she would join the GCPD, where she became the head of a major crimes unit. Now, this is where my headcanon comes in, okay? So because during this time, Maggie and Renee had a lot of beef going on in the office, because Renee Montoya is a very effective cop out in Gotham as well, right? But she works in a certain way, and Maggie don't work that way. And so they would often butt heads. But trust me, bro, there's literally a scene there where you can just feel it, and it's just if this office was now empty, we would swipe the stuff off this desk and just fuck. This is exactly it's literally that. But then they didn't do that, and I was just like, well, I mean, cool, all right, I guess. The
chemistry's there, but it's not happening.
That's really bridging two of the terms that Table was talking about in the intro there.
Exactly that. And it almost feels like it was building up. It almost cashed in, but they didn't, because they let Maggie get swooped by Kate Kane. She snagged her up, and this is where also my headcanon gets mixed up, because Kate Kane dated Renee beforehand. So yeah.
I'm not saying polyamory is the solution here, but I am saying polyamory is the solution here.
Now I'm gonna get to that a little bit later. Okay, no. Okay.
Looking respectfully.
Yeah. So in their long-running relationship, Kate revealed herself as Batman to Maggie by proposing to her in costume. Needless to say, she said yes. So now this is where the fun picks up. So now, DC is never without PR disaster. Okay. The year was 2013. Maggie and Kate were set to marry. The roadmap was there. Everybody had drawn it out a full fucking year beforehand, right? Everything is going down until the last minute where DC pulled out. Pause. W. Hayden Blackman and his collab artist J.H. Williams III were told by DC that their current plot would have to cease. There was a change coming from DC, the New 52, and so current plots were to be chopped and screwed for this new wave. This included their plot for Killer Croc's true origins. They were forced to alter their end of their current arc, which would have defined and elevated Batwoman to top-tier status, pretty much pushing her to the Justice League status, and most crushingly, re-adding the heroes shouldn't and couldn't marry clause. So something that's been there since 40s. So everybody was going through the big shake-up breakup. So that means Clark and Lois, Iris and Barry,
Mara and Aquaman.
all that. Yeah, everything was coming apart because they issued that clause back out. So that move came out with such poor timing because with that editorial switcheroo, it looked like gay marriage was snubbed on purpose, and a whole sect of people, you know who, felt alienated and robbed, and rightfully so. So J.H. Williams did confess that they were warned from the start that because they fought for Maggie and Kate to be engaged, but they were told they could not marry. He did confess though that it was nothing to do with anti-gay marriage. It was just simply told that, married heroes are boring, and that's why we keep them dating, gay or not. It doesn't matter.
It was actually anti-marriage propaganda, not homophobia.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what went down. Gail Simone even confirmed this as such because while she was there, the initiative came back out. They were like, just break up all current marriages. So everybody had to be apart. Everybody, Oliver Dynamite, everyone right apart. So here we are in 2021, and DC seems to be doing way better in its representation and fully embracing the shipping. So hopefully they can rectify things. Like my headcanon, right? I want Maggie and Renee, or all three of them, to hook up.
Listen, if the X-Men can enter a power throuple, these people can too.
Oh, please. I'm not even begging. I'm not begging. I'm demanding.
We've actually dropped the please at this point and are just giving you instructions.
Do it.
This is what we want. This is what we'll pay for. Give me the book.
We love to see it. But I believe that takes us over to my end of things.
It sure does.
So today I bring to you from the truly wacky and violent world of Wildstorm, Apollo and Midnighter. So for those who aren't familiar, Wildstorm is, I don't want to say edgy, but that's what it is. These two characters really do reflect that. You see, Apollo is a bioengineered hero. He was a dude, and then he got scienced. So he has super strength, heat vision. He's functionally invulnerable so long as his solar batteries are charged. He can fly. He doesn't need to eat. He has accelerated healing. He has energy projection-y blast. Think not quite dollar store Superman, but the vibe is there.
Walmart off-brand Superman is what I'm hearing.
Hold on. I got a quick question.
Kirkland Superman.
Midnighter is kind of a bastard. Some people like to describe him as murdery Batman, but that's a little bit of an oversimplification. You see, he's got all these cybernetic enhancements that give him an edge in terms of survival, cognition, combat. He has pain receptor control. He's got a fancy immune system and healing. He's unusually strong, durable, fast. He's got telescopic vision. So, the zoom and enhance cliche, he can do that. But
he
with
is
his eyes.
CSI, but like a dude.
Like a dude. The sacrifice for all of this is he actually doesn't remember his own past. He really just got digitized and reprogrammed kind of vibe. And he's also incredibly vulnerable to nanite infections, which happens a handful of times.
Oh my God, this is the most 90s thing ever. Yeah, keep going.
This man
And
just
so,
okay.
because he was literally designed by a guy, he actually had a run-in with some people working for that guy, and they just straight up had an off switch.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have one that's completely solar dependent, another one who has an off switch. Boy, oh boy.
To be clear, both of these guys murder people a lot. For all that Midnighter's chosen weapon is usually a stick,
Blunt object. I understand.
sometimes guns, but
Sometimes.
yeah, his classics are a nightstick, a staff, and throwing stars.
Yeah, he really likes blunt. He likes blunt force trauma. Midnighter.
Wow.
And he will kill you with them, versus
He will.
Apollo, who will simply incinerate you. So these two met on a Black Ops team called Stormwatch, which was actually particularly Stormwatch Zero, which was so secret that the only guy who knew about it was the dude who ran it. He was the weatherman at the time, Henry Bendix, also the guy who scienced Apollo and digitized Midnighter. Of course, on their first mission, everyone fucking dies, and Apollo and Midnighter go rogue, so trauma bonding. Yay.
Mhm.
They end up going onto the grayer end of vigilantism, tracking down weapons, getting into fights with other Stormwatch teams. They end up getting convinced by one Jenny Sparks to join a team called the Authority, which isn't ominous at all. The whole point of that team is just that they don't answer to external authorities in terms of governments or anything, which is neat, but also absolutely fucking terrifying. And it does end up going the way you would expect. Apollo and Midnighter develop their relationship on this team, and they get even more trauma bonding when Jenny Sparks dies and is reincarnated as a baby called Jenny Quantum. And sometime later, they do end up adopting this baby, but we'll get there.
Listen, man, I'm just gonna apologize to you guys for Wildstorm right now, okay?
It's
Yeah,
a
I'm sorry.
lot.
I'm sorry, man. It birthed from the '90s, from a brain trust of '90s guys. I'm sorry.
So during this run, this was the Authority comics. There's a sexual assault that I'm not crazy about including. Yeah, I get it that Wildstorm is, it's an edgy town, so it makes sense that it's the kind of thing that they would include even if their characters were heterosexual. But it does fucking suck that they chose to do that. At least the guy got straight up murdered over it, but weird writing choice, and we don't approve. The Authority ended up getting super arrested by global governments, and then they put their own superheroes in charge of their flying ship called the Carrier, and Apollo got the real short end of the stick where they just drain him of sunlight, so he's just trapped in a little cell, and then they beat the shit out of him on the regular for fun and profit.
Ooh.
Oh my god.
Midnighter escapes the initial arrest, and then he does come rescue his boyfriend, and together they kill all of these heroes on the ship, and then they get married and adopt the baby.
Wildstorm. I'm sorry.
Wow.
There was one time after their marriage where Midnighter kissed someone else and admitted it, and they had a pretty nasty marital dispute. It was also the only time they've ever raised hands against each other, which was interesting.
Mhm.
I say against each other, Apollo just threw him through a wall.
I mean, yeah.
It's not great, but this is comics.
Krypton Superman was not having it in a fight.
I like that you committed to that name.
The Authority ends up living up to their really creepy name, and they straight up take over the United States.
Yeah, I remember that happening. Yeah.
Wow.
Apollo from the future comes back to warn Midnighter that if he stays on this path, he'll end up a horrible, no good, very bad dictator. So Midnighter quits the team and goes off to have solo wacky adventures, including everything from a mission to time travel assassinate Hitler to helping a young girl find her missing cat.
Those
Okay,
are
so-
two different extremes.
I
on the
love
highest
all of
level.
this.
Yeah, but you know what? I want to know the result for both. Did he do it, and did he plant the cat?
The time travel Hitler, he discovered that the guy who hired him to do it wanted him to assassinate Hitler so his own great-grandfather could take over the Nazis and be a better leader, so he didn't. And the young girl who were missing ended up being this whole situation with this evil scientist doing cybernetic experiments on cats and other animals that he was kidnapping. And he just kind of destroys all of the experiments that also included murderers towards the end of it. But he took home and adopted the one pet that he couldn't rehome or help, which was a cyborg dog.
You know what?
So let me get this
I'm just gonna
straight.
comment that I enjoy Midnighter's life. That it's all just happenstance and nothing more.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit just happens to this guy.
He met
Yeah.
Kirkland, Superman in trauma. They adopted their baby through traumatic experiences. Then they got a dog.
Maybe which was their previous co-worker who died and got reincarnated.
Oh, I'm sorry. Stop me if you've heard that one
Wow.
before. And then got a cybernetic dog because I just can't kill that one.
Wildstorming.
Midnighter gets mind controlled at one point because, again, vulnerable to nanites. It results in a classic, you gotta kill me if it comes down to it. No, I won't kill you, there's gotta be another way kind of fight. Apollo gets stuck in the fucking atmosphere because of some serious worldwide smog that's keeping sunlight from the surface of the Earth. And since he needs that, he actually just can't hang out on Earth. He has to hang out where the sun is.
Literally got sun blocked.
This being in the sky. He ends up getting infected with this thing called the Warhol fever. I don't know why they named this after Andy Warhol, but they did.
Does it turn him into 4 separate colors on the page?
Disappointingly, no. It makes him a little bit crazy and superpowered. And he tries to, like, burn the infection out of him by going to hang out in the sun for a bit, but it doesn't work for obvious reasons. And he ends up getting just supercharged and angry. They put him in superhuman timeout, but he escapes from superhuman timeout and then kills a bunch of people. So they throw him into the Norwegian trench to cool down.
So what I gathered was there's a smog on planet Earth that not only gives him a sunblocker, but it's also cock blocking him, is what you're telling me.
Yes, he's getting cock blocked constantly.
Cock-blocked and sunblocked. Okay.
So Midnighter finds a cure for his boyfriend's, art disease. And and towards the end of it, they start working on terraforming to fix the Earth and all of its various problems, because the storyline is literally called World's End. It's a lot. The Authority fucks off into space on their giant ship, but Midnighter and Apollo decide not to do that because, Apollo literally needs sunlight to live.
Yeah, it makes
sense. So space, not advantageous, not long term.
Okay.
And that's pretty much the last we've heard of them. Like, there's... The last story involves them doing reconstruction work on Earth, and there's, someone named Zealot who's created, this pregnancy program to birth all female children that she can train into an army.
Is that
but
what this, hold on. Pause. Is that what they're doing to Zealot now?
Yeah, that's what was going on with Zealot.
Oh, they don't know how to write Zealot anymore. Christ.
Anyway, do you have recommended reading for these two?
Sure do. If you want the best content of the relationship, you want to check out their Midnighter and Apollo 2016 book. It's a 6-issue miniseries, so it's a quick and accessible read. And according to reviews, it's one of the best comics to come out in 2016. You can also catch them to some extent in Midnighter Volume 1 from 2006. Most of their relationship is in Stormwatch Volume 2 and Volumes 1 through 4 of The Authority. But keep in mind, these are really 90s books, so be ready.
If you wanted something a little bit more modern, they show it up in a backup of Future State Superman World of War, or Worlds of War, #1, where Midnighter finds out that the biggest threat to Earth is actually Apollo.
Classic.
Not Kirkland Superman being the biggest threat.
That brings us to our secondary recommendations.
Yeah. So everybody brought to the table honorable mentions for some queer couples. So I'll start this back. I'm going to go with Alan Scott and James Henton.
Retro.
Yeah. So Alan Scott is the 1940s Green Lantern, the original Green Lantern. And, an actual, train lantern as his lantern. But prepare for this title, folks. Green Lantern 80th Anniversary 100-page Super Spectacular.
Damn, okay.
In a story called Dark Things Cannot Stand the Light. Our OG Green Lantern visits the mom of the man he met during the train accident, so James Henton's mom, the accident that eventually gave him his powers. When James's mom asks Alan why he was on the train in the first place, he says, "I was trying to get away from myself," followed in brief succession by a whole bunch of flashbacks that very much do a lot of the heavy lifting to hint that actually Alan Scott was trying to run away from his own sexuality. To which, after some brief moments of pause, that dude's mom then comes forward and tells Alan to help other people find their way.
That's kind of wonderful, actually.
Yeah, I thought it was super sweet to take somebody from the 40s where being in a gay relationship was the most frowned upon. And, based on your family, based on where you were, it could literally mean just being kicked out and no longer being able to be a part of anything anymore. Just straight up banned from places. And now having a modern spin on it and go, you know what? He was closeted and now he's come to terms with it.
Yeah, that is nice. My additional picks, I'm bringing from a variety of different media sources here because, we all did get distracted by comics since that's our one true love, TM. But if you want to check out some queer relationships, Steven Universe is actually full of them. It is by no means a perfect show, but it's created by queer people with the intent of being a genuine exploration of emotions and relationships. The one I'm going to highlight here is Garnet, the fusion of Sapphire and Ruby, who have decided that they want to spend the rest of their life together, even if that is considered quote unquote wrong by the society they grew up in. which is just really great. And also, Stronger Than You continues to slap to this day.
Stronger Than You is the best song that Steve Universe has put out, and I'll die on that hill.
I also want to mention a couple of book series. So Carry On by Rainbow Rowell is a fantasy, not quite YA. Like, it's a high end of YA where you're technically teenagers can read it, but it's definitely for young adults, like adults. And it is about a wizard named Simon Snow and his gay wizard vampire roommate turned lover, Baz. There's a long way between point A and B on that one, but Baz lives in my living room. Literally, there is a cardboard cutout of this vampire, and I think I might be executed by someone if I didn't at least mention these two.
Hard facts.
There's also Red, White, and Royal Blue, which is another LGBT novel. This one written by Casey McQuiston, who is non-binary, which is pretty cool. And it depicts Alex Claremont Diaz and Prince Henry of England ending up in a relationship after a lot. And that one's also a lot of fun. Really brain candy kind of read. So if you're into the novel scene, go check those two out.
My secondary would be gonna be She-Ra, man, and it's gonna be particularly Adora and Catra, as they're called, Catradora. It's a long-standing friendship that blossomed to something a lot larger in the grand run, right? It's you got to watch it for yourself. I mean, and I'm an old salt, so I mean I've seen some shit, and I know She-Ra from way back in the day, and I mean She-Ra's always given off that kind of energy, yo. I don't know what anybody else has been thinking, but like, I never really saw She-Ra as straight, to be honest with you, as I grew up, man. When I rewatched it, it's just like there are some subtle hints in there, especially when all the dudes keep trying to approach her and shit, and then like offering stuff, she's just like, this again. Hey boys, how are you? Oh, She-Ra, oh my god, you're so... Here, take these flowers and you must love me. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you probably flowers this year, huh?
Can you lift my sword up? Oh, this guy.
You can't. I don't think so.
Here, just give me my sword. Oh, yeah, I forgot you can't pick it. Give me that. Okay, move. Yeah. What else you got? Look at me. I'm She-Ra, man. You know, I'm not even ask the question who you are. I don't want to know your name. Look at my horse. It's got wings. I'm out. Peace.
And that's on facts, is what that is.
Oh, man.
No, and that's comment for Kevin Smith too, because I know he's handling He-Man, and I'll tell you right now, there's nobody in my age bracket who thinks He-Man's straight. I'll tell you that right now. 90% the whole of my generation thinks that dude is gay, and by right, that dude is gay, dude. There's no question about it. The way he talks, the way he rides the tiger, dude. He rides a tiger in a loincloth. Tanned even with his lofty sword. What are you telling me, man? What are you telling me he's straight? That's a lie. And like even him too, like when all the girls approached Prince Adam or even He-Man, there's this like, especially I'll even give you one scene right now, especially with Teela. She's like she gets her life saved by He-Man. She's like all like being flirty and coming on to him, and he literally goes the classic, "Hey, what's that over there?" And then fucks off. He-Man points up to the direction. He's like, "What's that?" And then He-Man fucks off. He fucks off.
But he gallivants his gay ass into the wind.
He hops on Battle Cat and rides off, dude. He's like, "What's that, Teela? Huh? Peace." No, he is not straight, dude. I mean, he's not straight. I'm telling you right now. Man. Kevin Smith, do it justice, or I don't want it.
I have one honorable pick that I can throw in here. Has anybody seen Ruby?
I've seen a Ruby or two.
Okay, right. So, as of this recording, season 8 is the latest season they have out. The titular characters, Yang and Blake, they kind of hint to them. Not hint to them. They show that they have like a very intimate friendship or situation. That's situationship. We'll go with that. Yeah, but it's like it's not even showing that they full on say that they love each other, but they're caring for each other after one of the fights from I think after season 7. So. It's like you can tell it's there, but you're just like, you're gonna say it.
So we're still in the queer subtext part of this one.
Literally, it's like because when you watch these episodes and you see what happens like after like certain fights, or you see like certain situations once they meet up again, it's just like, so what's happening between you two? Are you guys saying something? Or I know you guys care about each other, but nobody's confirming anything yet. So until they do that for season 9, hopefully. That's just one couple there.
Fingers crossed that one reaches canon properly.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hard facts. And finally, we have Larry Trainer from Doom Patrol.
Oh yeah, big ups to Larry. I forgot about him, Oh yeah, man.
Larry.
And like his adventure through, I believe it's the 2nd season, to coming to terms with his identity and his spirit.
I swear that was the 1st season, no?
Point is, watch both
Yeah, exactly.
and absorb all that story because it is
Yeah.
a masterclass in coming out.
That's a pretty good spread of characters.
Absolutely. What I would highly recommend from the audience is absolutely this is not a perfect list. This is just the ones that most came to our mind. If you have any more, what I would highly recommend you do is leave it in the comments. Tell us who we missed. With that in mind, Beastie, if you please.
If you would like to hear more discussions about other stuff, you make sure you subscribe and follow us for more videos. We upload every Wednesday, and you can catch us streaming live on Thursdays at twitch.tv/nerdcrusade. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram for updates on more with some other discussions, and join our Crusader chat on Discord. The links are on screen and in the description. You can download any previous episodes or listen on your mobile device through anchor.fm or search Nerd Crusade on your favorite podcast app. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, fellow Crusaders.
And that's to be continued.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, go ahead and button mash a thumbs up. If you want to swing by when we have a new video, web up the sub button. Oh, and while you're at it, hit the bell to be notified by.